In this video, I'm going to show you how to stand up a QML-based interface using Python, but using what I call the QuickView method. So QuickView method is been around for a while. There's lots of examples on the internet that you're going to run into, especially on Stack Overflow. In that, there is a new method, but because it's new, not a lot of examples of it working out well. So I'm going to open up a folder, file, open up a folder. I'm going to go into my testing area and open up this demo one. It's just a empty folder. There's nothing in it right now. So I'm going to add some files like I usually do. Main.py. Another one called form.py. And now for the interface, form.qml. Done. I'm going to open up some snippets to get started. So open file, I'll go up here, snippets. Now I'm going to use the QuickView method. So these snippets are, start the application slightly differently. Now the first thing, my first snippet is a QML stub. This is like enough of a seed to get me working in the design part of Qt Creator with the QML file. So I'm going to put that in my form. There's not much to it. Just sets a basic size. It does some imports. This is important. Kind of activates the designer in a certain way so that you have certain palettes available to you. And I'll show you once we get in there. Now I have autosave on. That's under File, Autosave. Or you can go Control K, let go, and then hit an S, and that'll do a save all. So my form, the seed for my form is set up. And now what I want to do is set up my form.py and have a snippet for that. Control A, Control Copy. And I'll just dump that into my form. Now the way this works, notice I've got some warnings here. It doesn't know who the heck that is. That's because I'm in my base environment. And I got to switch to one that actually has the Qt stuff installed. And now it's happy. So we start off with a basic Q application. This is much like when we do QTD. So we're building a Qt-based application that happens to use QML as the interface versus the UE file, which was XML. So QML is more like JavaScript object notation. And we're just using the user interface design part of it. It is its own programming language on the side, Emacs language. So we make an application, we make a view, and then we connect our code to that view in signals and slots, and then our start is to show the view and then start the application. And I have a stub here for a function, sort of like a callback in that we can hook our buttons into, which we haven't designed yet. But that's just sort of a bare bones template to get you going, and then it's up to you what you want to do after that point. So I will close the form. I have a run stuffer, so I'm going to take this just in case someone tries to run this. I'm going to put this at the end of my file here. So if someone does right click on this and run it or hit that play button, that sort of thing, it'll run it and we'll get a nice message in the window. Hey, this is not runnable. Try main. Add this to your main. So let's see if I can just grab that and throw that in main. All right. And so what this is is going to import the form module. It's going to make a new form. It's going to send in this form QML file as a thing to pop up, and then it'll start the form, which will show the view, start the application. That's enough to actually see if that's going to run. So I'm going to run that. Oh, interactive terminal, bad me. Cancel that. Just run it in a stock Python terminal. So where's that window? There it is. So it popped it up, sized the way it is. Nothing on it yet because I'll take this into Qt. I'll take it into the designer and Qt Creator to get things happening. So I got my run stuffer done, and there's no point getting buttons and getting text fields until I actually add those to the form. So what I'm going to do now, I'll close main. I'm going to edit this in Qt Creator. So I'm just going to, for me, you should have a desktop icon on the War desktop. Just double click that and wait for a few seconds and it'll launch. I have it here. I'm going to cancel this. so that everything is closed. And what I would do is I would open up Qt Creator, and I will open a file or project, and I've navigated down to my demo. That's my test one. This is the one I'm in right now, right here. I'm going to grab this form.qml. Now sometimes it'll launch right into the designer, sometimes it won't. So just click on design, and now I'm in this design area. So this item is that item here. Okay. So what I'm going to do first is, and these palettes here that have all these controls are based on the imports. Okay. So if you don't see a palette, it's probably because you don't have the import. And you can add imports by clicking over here and just dropping down and finding which controls you want to bring in, charts and things like that. So let's go back to my QML types. That's why I have a seed file, so that when you come in with this one, you'll have it's the basic controls ready to go that you can use. One of the first things I'm going to add is a column layout. Well, it's not a column layout, it's a column. I should be careful. And I just dropped it on, and notice it's inside the item. So if we went and took a look at the editor, we'd see that item's on the outside, column is inside of it. So what I'm going to do is actually make column actually fill its parent. So if your parent grows, it'll grow. One thing I always forget to do is item. It's not inside anything, but it's going to eventually need, we might have to do it manually. It is going to need some help because it's going to need to grow too. But we'll do that later. So what I want to do now is drag on simple controls just to demo sort of the flow of how you hook into a button, how once that button fires off, a Python function can go to the interface and grab data, and then I'll also put data back on the interface. So the first thing I will put on is a text field. I'm going to take this and drag it. And notice that when I drag it, you can see it positioning it actually at the same level as column. So often I find myself, the only way I can resolve this is to drag that onto the column, and now it's down inside the column, and notice that its positioning is changed. I'm also going to get a button, but this way, instead of dragging it here, I'll just drag it either on the column, and it'll put it at the end, and then I'll also find a label and drag that as well. Now when it goes that little line there, it should drop it in behind. So they're all in there. One thing I might do is go back to item and change the size. And so I'll make the width more. Maybe I'll make the width 400, and I don't need as much, so I'll make it 200, even less. Oh, we'll see. I'm going to change the size of some of these controls so that there's a hope that the user can see them. So I'm going to click on text field here, or you can click it there to make it active. I'm actually going to center it, which would center the text inside. I'm also going to go to layout and center it within its parent, within the column. I'm going to change the size of the font to 14. That's done here. There. One thing is I want to give a hint. I want the person to type in their name. Now I don't see it showing up because the default tool has hard-coded the text space field into the text. I'm actually going to take that out, and now I can see the hint. Take the button, 14-point font. I think it's centered by default, but on the layout I want the control to be in the center of the parent. The parent would be whoever you're inside. In this case, that's the column. And then label, I will select that. I will center it on the parent since I'm here. I'm going to take out any text. I'm going to put 6 blank spaces in. I will make center alignment for the label, but I will also change the size to 14. Done. Now I have to give these controls names so that programmatically I can find them. Now typically in QML, you fill in this ID. So I'll call this txt name. I will call this btn message btn, and I will call this label. And I can't find it. Right, it's there. So sometimes if you're having problems, just go to the navigator and select it. That'll definitely highlight it. So programmatically, it's going to be referred to as LBL message, and that's getting pretty close to what we need. I might be able to. I'm just going to check on layout to see if there's any kind of padding I can do. So I might go 5 pixels all the way around and see it'll squeeze inside. So I'm not right on the edge all the time. There, this steps me in a little bit. And I'm going to save all or save. Now, in QML, it's very elegant and easy to find this text field just by its ID. However, we're in Python, and so the classes that we had to jump through to find this button, it actually gets in the built-in routines. They have a thing called find child, find children to find controls, but it doesn't search on this ID name of all things. So we're going to have to go in and manually edit the file. And that's why I really feel that over time, this part I think will change. Because when you do this, you go, well, if I'm supposed to use this designer to build it, I should be able to do whatever I need in this tool and not flip into text. But to make this work well in Python, we are going to have to change how we do that. So I have my item which has a column, and inside my column I have a text field. And so I have to add an attribute. And most of the stuff you see on Stack Overflow and out there mention adding an object name. So I'll start typing in. It sees it as a thing I can do, and in quotes, I'm just going to set it to the same name as the ID, txt. But this is me manually editing, and this is also me manually syncing. So right away, I just from previous experience, it feels okay. I'm in the zone that I probably shouldn't be in. But according to the internet, this is what everyone's doing. Although I'm pretty sure there might be another way. And so we might investigate that later. So I'll call it button name, button message. Try to be consistent. See, this thing about manually syncing is easy not to be consistent. What I'm trying to do is always put this object name right after the ID. They're close together. So LBL message. Right. So we have a way to get to the message. We have a way to get to the button. And we have a way to get to the text field. That's about all the things we need to get at on the interface. So I'm going to go save. And I will close Qt Creator for now. And I'm back here. And if I go take a look at my form.qml, my updates are there. So I could actually update it in here. So what I want to do now is put in the hooks to get the button. Okay. So I have this part to connect signals and slots. And I have a snippet, right? And I'm just going to grab it. And I'm going to drop it in. I'll have to fix the indentation, probably on the second line. There. Now, it's not called button distance. What's it called? I think it's called button message. If you're unsure, just go look at the file. Button message. Why not just take that text as is so that there's no confusion? And I'll put it in here. And so this is just me grabbing the button. I don't need to save it. I just need to say, okay, that button on the interface, hook it to my code. Now, my code, some slot function. So I'm going to change this name to, I guess, send message. Why not? So send the message to the user. Done. And I have to change that name there, so I might as well copy it and put it in there. So what it means is that when that button, which I find here, when it's clicked, it's connected to my send message, so this will run. Okay, so that hooks in the button. So that's how you hook into buttons and menus and a few other things. Is you have to have an area where you go find these things on the interface and then hook them into your code on the Python side. And now what I'm going to do is how do I get the data out of that text field and into my method here. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a print. Do I even get in here? This will prove that my connect up above is working. So I'll go inside, send message in that, and then I will paste this in and fix the indentation. Now, whoops, Control Z, get in front of that. There we go. Now, I don't want this to be, I'm going to, I guess, a text message, which is fine. So I'm just going to call this is, am I? Yes, I think the control is called text username. And so what I will do, might as well just check. What did I call that text field? I called it txt name. So I'll just do that. What the heck? Let's use the exact same thing so I don't confuse myself. So I have this thing txt name, and so I need to be hunting for that on the interface. There. And then I'll just go name is equal to, and I don't need to convert it to a float, right? It's only if you're getting numbers. This is the control. I want to look at its property text there. So just grab the text out of that text field and put it into my variable called name. And now I'm going to build up a message. I'll go message, doesn't exist yet because I'm making it, is equal to, I'll make an F string. So this is a Python thing. So I'll go hello, and I'll go name, welcome to GIST 7010. There. And then what I want to do is take that message and put it into the text property of the label, right? So I'll go, I have another snippet here, but it's going to follow the very same thing. You know, you have to go get the label, and I will put that in there, except it's going to be label message, and I believe I called it label message, but let's look at the form, because these have to match exactly. Might as well grab it from there. And so that will get me the label, a reference to the label, so that I can then go to the label and set its text to be equal to the message I just generated. So, okay. And what I want to put in there is message. Now message is already a string, so I should be okay to shorten this up. Okay. If there's an error, I just print out the exception. I should probably print stack trace, but that's not too bad. So this is how I connect a button so that when someone clicks it, my code runs. And then my code, this is how it goes to the interface to get data, and this is how it goes back to the interface to put the data on. Okay, so property versus set property. The thing is, who knows if this is going to work, right? So let's fire up the interface and test it. So we have this, and I'll go put my name in there. And I'll go button. Hello, Robert. Welcome to. I like that, except I don't like the name of button. And I should have changed that when I was designing, but I can go in here, right, and just change that to message or something like that. And so when I fire it up again, that text will have changed, right? Because that is the file that it is. There, it's working. So the big thing, this is like a round trip, how I connect to things on the interface so I can respond to events. And then once I respond to events, how I can go back to the interface and get whatever data, might be in a drop-down list or a value or a slider value or a radio button selection. And then how I can then put something back on the interface to let the user, to give them a result or something like that. But for now, this concludes this demo.